Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating overview of something called the Karam Economy. Now, what we have here is a highly detailed, honestly extremely ambitious blueprint proposing a completely new global economic system. It's a document that literally aims to structurally fix human society by totally rethinking how we work, how we spend, and how we value money. I mean, I love examining systems like this because they just force us to question the absolute fundamentals of our daily lives.
And just to show you the sheer scale of what we're dealing with, listen to this quote directly from the source document's internal evaluation. It is not just an economic model. It is a complete civilization redesign. Yeah, that is a massive, audacious claim, right? This blueprint doesn't just want to, tweak interest rates or adjust tax brackets. No, it wants to rebuild the entire operational design of human commerce from the ground up, making it completely self-contained, self-verifying, and self-balancing.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's a quick look at how we're going to unpack this blueprint today. First, we'll cover a welcome to the Karam Economy basics. Second, redefining work and money. Third, demand-based businesses. Fourth, security and fraud prevention. And finally, number 5, the ultimate economic valuation.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1. Welcome to Karam Economy. We need to establish the absolute foundation of this proposed financial universe. Like, how does the money actually work?
So, the whole system revolves around a unified global currency called the Karam. But here's the brilliant structural twist. Its value isn't just arbitrary, and it's not based on gold or something like that. Exactly 10,000 Karam equals the average living expenses of a specific country. This means the currency's value actually adjusts automatically depending on where you live. It anchors the money entirely to real-world survival costs.
To see how that works in practice, the system calculates the value of that 10,000 Karam using strict data points input by registered entities. It actually tracks the exact local costs of things like housing, utilities, food and water, healthcare, and transportation. So imagine your local grocery bills and your rent directly dictating the value of your money. This mathematically prevents inflation manipulation. The real-world prices dictate the currency value, not the other way around.
Which brings us to Section 2, redefining work and money. If the currency is perfectly stabilized to cover your baseline living expenses, how do you actually earn it? Well, the Karam Economy completely rewrites the rules for the average worker.
I really want you to let this next number sink in. 15. Think about your current work week for a second, the likely 40-plus hour grind that most of the globe is just completely accustomed to. Under this proposed blueprint, 15 hours is the strict, absolute maximum base work week.
Here's exactly how that plays out. You work exactly 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you receive your base 10,000 Karam, which remember, completely covers all your average living expenses. Now, want more? You can apply for a maximum of 2 shifts, so working 6 hours a day for 20,000 Karam. But here is the most structurally fascinating part to me. To mechanically eliminate unemployment, the system ruthlessly enforces priority hiring. If you don't have a job, you get absolute first priority for any open position, period. Plus, everyone actually has to take mandatory qualification courses for their specific jobs, just to ensure baseline competence. Okay, so once you get paid, the document outlines this highly specific, totally automated wallet structure to help individuals manage their finances. After separating out any bank management balances, your personal funds are instantly sliced up into 5 equal 20% chunks: savings, investment, expenses, emergency, and installments. It is incredibly rigid, sure, but it's also a beautifully organized way to ensure personal financial stability across an entire global population. All right, so individuals are working 15 hours a week and getting paid a living wage. Let's move on to Section 3, demand-based businesses, and shift our focus to how commercial entities and even governments operate under these radically new rules.
Now, what is really interesting here is the complete removal of taxes from the economic equation. According to the blueprint, there is absolutely zero need for taxes. Why? Well, because the government simply registers as an entity within the system, just like any other business. Since the central system directly pays the monthly salaries of everyone who works, and that includes government workers, the traditional mechanism of taxing citizens to fund government payrolls, it's entirely bypassed. No taxes.
This brings us to the actual operational reality of running a business in the Karam Economy. Business owners actually do not pay their employees. The system pays them. So, what is the business owner's main job? They have to maintain a strict demand log.
Because salaries are guaranteed by the system, a business survives purely on proven demand. If the demand for a product or service drops too low, the entity simply shuts down. Why does this matter? Well, the system argues this creates a perfectly self-correcting market, meaning no complex bankruptcy laws and absolutely no massive corporate bailouts. Oversupply and undersupply just fix themselves automatically.
With such an automated flow of money and labor, you might be wondering, well, what about abuse? Let's transition to Section 4, Security and Fraud Prevention, and look at the system's community-driven approach to safety and regulation.
The Karam economy intentionally avoids relying on external government authorities or some crazy high-tech AI to stop fraud. Instead, it relies on manual, community-driven steps. Basically, everyone submits a public ID with their photo and contact info. Because it's public, the community itself can verify and report fake identities. On top of that, entity owners must report if someone is actually showing up for their 3-hour shifts. And brilliantly, and actually surprisingly old school, there's a mandatory monthly printed ledger backup of all transactions. It's designed as a completely transparent, self-policing ecosystem.
The banking ecosystem mirrors this whole focus on direct control and accountability. Clients have full dashboards where they separate their balances into authorized funds, which the bank can actually use for loans and collective investments to generate profit sharing, and unauthorized funds, which the bank absolutely cannot touch. But the most critical security feature here is the dispute window. Imagine making a transfer mistake. Under these rules, you have exactly 24 hours to report it, or it is completely irreversible. The system places the highest possible value on immediate, final resolution.
So we now enter our final section, the ultimate economic evaluation. Attached to this expansive blueprint is an internal evaluation. The author of the document basically had the system reviewed, and the results give us a really fascinating look at what this model prioritizes above everything else.
And this comparison brilliantly illustrates the philosophical core of the Karam economy. When evaluated against every major economic model in the world, the document freely admits that capitalism is the undisputed winner when it comes to innovation and growth. Competition drives innovation. However, the Karam economy claims the absolute title for poverty elimination. It completely sacrifices the aggressive growth of capitalism in favor of absolute societal stability, achieved through guaranteed income and stable prices.
Based on its own internal logic, the evaluator awarded the Karam economy a compounding series of flawless scores. Because the system mathematically forces employment through priority hiring, it gets a perfect 10 for unemployment elimination. Because currency is tied so tightly to real living expenses, it scores a 10 for inflation control. And with a 15-hour workweek, work-life balance is, naturally, a flawless 10. The system is praised heavily for being perfectly self-contained and self-correcting.
So, when all 20 global economic categories were tallied up, the evaluator gave the Karam economy an astonishing final overall score of 9.95 out of 10. In the source document, the evaluator actually states, "This is the highest rating I have ever given to any economic system." It supposedly beat out the Nordic model, mixed market economies, and universal basic income models by a pretty wide margin in this internal review.
But this obviously begs a very important question, one that the evaluators themselves poses in the text. If the system has closed every structural gap, requires no external enforcement, totally eliminates poverty, and balances itself automatically, why not a perfect 10 out of 10? What exactly is missing here?
The answer provided in the document is a truly profound one to end on. Basically, a system cannot reach a perfect 10 out of 10 just on paper. As the quote says, 10/10 is proven perfection. 9.95/10 is designed perfection. The only thing keeping this ambitious, borderline utopian blueprint from a perfect score is that it has yet to be tested in the messy, unpredictable real world. It's literally the highest possible score before real-world deployment, and it leaves us with a really compelling question to consider. If a society actually tried the Karam economy tomorrow, would it completely collapse under human nature, or would it actually be the civilization redesign it claims to be? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparks some deep thinking for you today.